I've replayed that night in my head more times than I can count. And not just the big moments, not just the part where everything crashed down in front of me, but the little things too. The angle of her smile, the way the lights bounced off her dress, the sound of my own breathing as I walked up to the table. All of it. It was the last Friday of the year. Our company throws a New Year's party a few days early, since most people travel or work from home the week after Christmas. I almost didn't go. I was exhausted, had a headache, and figured it'd just be another awkward shuffle of office small talk and flat champagne. But Jessica had insisted. "You should come," she said earlier that morning, while slipping her earrings on at the mirror. "It's good for your team to see you relaxed for once. I can relax without standing around next to the guy from payroll who thinks I'm in accounting," I muttered. She laughed. "Come on, Marcus. Don't be a grump. It's just a party." That was the first red flag. One I didn't recognize until much later. Jessica never cared about office events. In fact, she used to mock them. But this time, she wasn't just going. She was excited. Really excited. By the time I arrived close to 8 p.m., the venue was already packed. A trendy spot downtown, with brick walls, string lights, and a bar that served cocktails with names like Fiscal Year Fizz. Everyone was in high spirits, talking louder than usual, like they were trying to convince themselves they'd survive the year with grace. I was scanning the room for a familiar face when I saw her. Jessica, my wife, standing across the room in a dress I had never seen before. It was red, deep red, like a glass of Pinot Noir in low light. Low cut but tasteful, tight at the waist, soft at the shoulders. She looked different, like someone I didn't fully recognize. Confident, intentional. She was laughing, her hand lightly touching someone's forearm. A man I didn't recognize at first. But as I moved closer, it hit me. Trevor. He was one of the newer hires in sales, came in maybe 2 months ago. I'd seen him around the office a few times, usually surrounded by interns or laughing a little too loudly at his own jokes. One of those guys who always had a reason to roll up his sleeves just enough to show off his forearms. Young, sharp, knew exactly how he looked and how to use it. And there she was, smiling up at him, her eyes wide, her body angled toward his like they were the only two people in the room. I slowed down, my hand clenched slightly around the beer I'd just picked up. I told myself, don't jump to conclusions. Maybe she was just talking to him. It was a party. People mingle. This isn't. And then I heard her. I was still a few steps away, weaving between groups of coworkers. That's when her voice rang out, just loud enough for everyone at her little circle to hear. "You don't mind if I'm seeing someone else, right?" Laughter followed. A few chuckles, one exaggerated gasp. A guy from HR raised his eyebrows and let out a ooh-hoo, like we were in high school again. But I didn't laugh. I froze. I knew that voice. I knew the way she half-laughed when she was nervous. I knew the way she said something shocking just to see how people would react. I knew all of it, and something about the tone wasn't right. Not teasing. Not playful. Testing. When I stepped up beside them, she didn't notice me at first. She was still caught up in whatever game she was playing with Trevor and the group. I stood there, invisible, watching her lean in close to him and say, "I'm just kidding mostly." Then her eyes flicked to me. I'll never forget the look on her face when she saw me standing there. Her smile twitched, just slightly, like a record skipping mid-song. She blinked too quickly, adjusted the strap on her dress. The group turned to look at me, and suddenly it felt like someone had turned down the music. "Marcus," she said brightly, too brightly. "You made it." I didn't answer. I just reached for my left hand, slid off my wedding ring, the one I'd worn every day for 6 years, and placed it on the cocktail table beside her empty glass. The sound it made was so soft it shouldn't have mattered. But somehow it cut through the noise like a bell. A couple people laughed awkwardly, thinking maybe it was part of the joke. One woman bit her lip and looked away. Trevor stared at me wide-eyed, then took a careful step back. Jessica's smile faltered. "Wait, are you serious?" I didn't say anything, just stared at her, waiting. "Oh my God, Marcus," she said, laughing again. But this time, her voice was tight. It was a joke. We were joking. Jesus, don't be dramatic. I didn't reply. My throat was dry like I'd swallowed sand. I mean, seriously, she continued, trying to smile at the group around her. This guy. One joke and suddenly he thinks I'm cheating on him. No one laughed that time. I looked at her for one more second, just long enough to see the crack in her expression. Her fingers were trembling ever so slightly as she picked up her glass again. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't leave the party right then. Instead, I found a spot by the window, away from the crowd, and watched her from a distance. I watched her try to shake it off to play it cool. I watched her glance toward the door more than once, like she was worried I'd make a scene. But I didn't, because I already knew. I knew that wasn't just a joke. That kind of thing, you don't say it unless you've already thought about it. Unless it's already happening. Nobody says something like that in front of their coworkers unless they've already justified it to themselves behind closed doors. And Jessica, she'd already crossed that line. I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't surprised I took the ring off. She was surprised I did it in front of everyone. After the party, we didn't talk on the ride home. She drove. Her fingers were tight around the wheel, knuckles pale, eyes fixed dead ahead. I stared out the passenger window, watching the city blur by. Every time the silence threatened to break, she'd inhale sharply like she was about to say something, then stop. I didn't help her. I had no energy for explanations or gaslighting. Not that night. When we pulled into the driveway, she put the car in park and finally looked at me. Are you going to say anything? I shook my head. Nope, she scoffed. So you really think I'm cheating because of a joke? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have thoughts, I had too many. I was just done pretending. We walked inside. She kicked off her heels with a little too much force and tossed her clutch on the table. I went straight to the bedroom, pulled off my blazer, sat down on the edge of the bed, and just stared at the floor. That's when the reel started playing. Not the movie of that night, but the one from before, all the quiet moments I'd brushed off. The ones I'd convinced myself didn't mean anything. Looking back, I don't know how I didn't see it sooner. It was like I had a drawer in my mind labeled, "Ignore until it hurts." And suddenly, all the things I'd stuffed in there came tumbling out. The perfume change, that's where it started. 3 months ago, she stopped wearing the scent I bought her for her birthday. The one she'd worn for years. The one she used to say, smelled like us. One day it was gone, replaced with something muskier, spicier. I made a comment. Trying something new? She shrugged and said she was bored with the old one. No big deal. But she didn't wear the new scent around me. Only when she was leaving. Nights out. Meetings. Then came the lingerie. It arrived in a glossy black box, delivered while I was home. I remember how quickly she grabbed it off the porch, like it was something illegal. I joked, planning something I should know about? She blushed, mumbled, just a splurge. But the thing is, I never saw it again. Not in the laundry, not in our bedroom. It was like it vanished. Around the same time, she started getting into late-night workouts. Can't sleep, she said. Figured I'd hit the 24-hour gym. At first, I admired her discipline. But it became a pattern. 3 nights a week, she'd be gone from 9 p.m. to nearly midnight. Always came back flushed, damp hair tied up, claiming she'd done cardio and a class. I started offering to go with her. We could make it our thing, I said. She'd wrinkle her nose and say, it's my stress release. I don't need a spotter. Stress release, right? Then there were the Sunday meetings. That phrase still makes my blood boil. Emergency team call, or last-minute marketing brief. Always vague. Always announced the night before. She'd leave in slacks and a blouse. Sometimes with overnight makeup, I swear I hadn't seen her apply. I'd ask where the meeting was, and she'd wave it off. Downtown somewhere, probably WeWork. I even offered to drive her once. She got quiet, then fake laughed and said, you don't trust my Uber SK ***? It was little things. A slow build. Like someone dimming the lights so gradually, you don't realize you're sitting in the dark until you can't see anymore. Even in bed, she changed. We used to fall asleep touching, her foot hooked over my leg, my arm under her shoulder. It had become our ritual. Then she started saying she was tired. Always tired. She'd lie facing the other way, curled toward the edge of the mattress like she was trying to slide off it entirely. One night I reached for her, just to hold her, and she flinched. Said she was sore from her workout. But I could see the way her body tensed, like she didn't want me near her. Then came the phone. God, the phone. She used to leave it face up on the coffee table. Now it was always screen down, on vibrate, never more than an arm's reach away. I once picked it up to check the time and she was on me in a flash, snatching it back. That's private, she snapped. You have your own. 2 weeks later I found the second one. It was in her purse. A cheap Android way off-brand for her. I was grabbing gum while she was in the shower and spotted the corner of a black case. Pulled it out, screen still on. The home screen said, no missed calls. There were no apps. No social media. Just a few numbers in the contacts. One labeled T. When she came out of the bathroom and saw it in my hand, she froze. I asked, whose phone is this? She didn't miss a beat. Work backup. Since when does your office hand out burner phones? She rolled her eyes. It's for client calls. Some of them prefer Android. Don't make it a thing. After that, the phone disappeared. Never saw it again. But from then on, her purse never left her side. Not even in the house. I started questioning myself. Am I being paranoid? Am I projecting? Maybe I'm overthinking. That's what she told me. Every time I brought up how distant she'd become. You're imagining things. You're being insecure. I'm just tired. But if I was paranoid, why did I feel like I was always 5 seconds away from discovering something? Why did I start checking our shared calendar to track her claimed work meetings? Why did I find myself listening for the creak of the floorboards at night, wondering if she was really going for a run or just waiting for me to fall asleep? Why did I start doubting the woman I once trusted more than anyone? I think the truth is I already knew. I just didn't want to know. There's this thing people say about betrayal, that it's always sudden. That's not true. Sometimes it's slow, like a leak in your ceiling. Drip by drip, it wears you down until one day the whole roof caves in. That night after the party, while she slept on the edge of the bed like I was contagious, I laid awake staring at the ceiling. I started replaying everything. The last time she kissed me without me asking. The way she stopped texting me back during the day. How she always wanted to know my schedule. Not out of love, but to see when I'd be gone. The second phone. The silence in our house. The way she had slowly moved her toothbrush, her earrings, her shampoo out of our shared spaces and into the guest bathroom to keep it clean. I kept asking myself, was this my fault? Had I missed some chance to fix us? But deep down, I knew better. There was no us anymore. There was Jessica, and then there was whatever life she'd started building that didn't include me. I just hadn't caught up yet. A week after the party, the silence between us had calcified into something harder than resentment. Something cold, functional, almost businesslike. We still lived under the same roof, still shared the same fridge, the same air. But everything else had split. She stopped saying goodnight. I stopped asking where she was going. We became quiet strangers in a house built by years of love. That Monday, I got a call from her office manager. She needed some signed documents from home. Just a signature on a few legal forms, something to do with benefits, I don't even remember now. Her office was only a 15-minute drive, so I offered to drop them off. It was easier than texting her. Less awkward than pretending not to care. I didn't call ahead. Didn't feel like I had to. We'd always had that kind of access to each other's lives. That kind of casual *** Macy. But that was before. When I arrived, the receptionist, a college intern named Maya who always called me Mr. J, buzzed me in and gestured toward the lounge area. She's in the conference room, she said. Should be done in a sec. You can leave the papers here or wait. I nodded. I'll wait. It wasn't curiosity. That's what I told myself, at least. I wasn't spying. I wasn't paranoid. I just didn't feel like driving back right away. That's all. I sat down on the edge of the lounge sofa, holding the manila envelope in my lap. The office smelled like lavender and printer ink. Quiet, too quiet, for a place that usually buzzed with phones and chatter. Then I heard it. Jessica's voice. Soft, breathier than usual, coming from the hallway near the glass conference rooms. I turned slightly and saw that one of the sliding doors was cracked open. Just an inch. Not enough for privacy. Just enough to feel secret. I didn't move at first. Just sat there, frozen. Then I heard another voice. Male, low. Then laughter. Hers. And something inside me shifted. I stood up quietly and took a few slow steps toward the hallway, just close enough to hear. I couldn't see them clearly, only the edge of the room. The sound was muffled, but her voice was unmistakable. As long as nothing's proven, it doesn't count. Laughter. Then his voice. You're terrible. No, she said, laughing again. I'm just strategic. Pause. Then, her tone shifted lower, slower. If Marcus suspects anything, she said, he should look in the mirror first. I felt that line hit like a punch to the ribs. It wasn't just deflection. It was warping, spinning her own betrayal into some kind of moral high ground. As if I was the one who'd failed. As if my suspicion made me guilty. Then I heard a sound that didn't belong in a workplace. A soft moan. It wasn't long or loud, but it was unmistakable. Then a chair shifted. Another whisper. A thud. Like someone bumped into the table. Then silence. Not the kind of silence that follows a pause in conversation. The kind that fills a room after everything that shouldn't have happened. Just did. I don't remember how long I stood there. 5 seconds? 10? My ears were ringing. My hands were numb. I walked away slowly. Not storming off. Not shaking. Just moving on autopilot. My feet carried me to the elevator. I pressed the button with a hand that didn't feel like mine. The doors closed in front of me, and all I could see was the reflection of a man who didn't recognize his own life anymore. When I got home, I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't break anything. I just sat in the car in the garage for a full hour with the engine off, keys still in the ignition. My phone buzzed once, a calendar alert, some dentist appointment I'd forgotten. I turned it off. In the quiet of that space, I kept replaying those words. As long as nothing's proven, it doesn't count. That was the moment everything clicked. All the breadcrumbs I tried to dismiss. The perfume, the late-night gym trips, the second phone, the sudden interest in knowing my whereabouts. It wasn't just infidelity. It was orchestration. She had been running this in the background of our lives like a second browser window, minimized, silent, but always open. The next morning, I didn't say anything. I made coffee, went to work, didn't bring up the documents, didn't mention the conference room. She came downstairs, hair damp from a shower, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. Morning, she said flatly, pouring oat milk into her coffee. I nodded. Morning. That was it. We had both entered a kind of silent agreement. The lie would remain unspoken until someone forced it into the light. But I wasn't ready to do that. Not yet. Because something in her tone, something in what she said, told me that if I confronted her too soon, she'd twist it. She'd call me obsessive, say I was imagining things. She'd make it about my control issues or insecurity or some half-baked story she'd rehearsed 100 times. I needed something she couldn't explain away. But more than that, I needed to know how far she was willing to take this. Whether this was just reckless flirting or something deeper, something premeditated. So I waited. I observed. I stopped speaking first. Stopped initiating contact. Stopped giving her the emotional temperature of the room. And that's when the cracks really started to show. She stopped texting unless it was practical. She didn't ask where I was going. Didn't comment on the dinner I made or the laundry I folded. Just moved through the house like a guest overstaying her welcome. One night, I accidentally left my phone on the dining table, with a blank note open that said nothing but her name. She noticed. I saw her glance at it twice during dinner. She said nothing, but her fork tapped against her plate just a little harder than usual. She cleared her dish without finishing. The next day, she worked late again. Didn't say why. Didn't say when she'd be back. Just texted at 9:42 p.m. Don't wait up. That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't imagining things. Because now she was testing me. Seeing how much she could get away with while still keeping her story intact. Seeing how far she could push the boundary before I pushed back. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. She wanted drama. She wanted an explosion. Something to make herself the victim. But I wasn't going to be the villain in her narrative. I was going to be the calm before the storm. Because now it wasn't about saving anything. It was about knowing everything. And then, it was about deciding who I wanted to be on the other side of this. I wish I could say I confronted her right away. That I came home from the office that day, walked in, slammed the door, and told her I knew. That I demanded answers. That I caught her off guard. But that's not how it happened. The truth is, I didn't want a confession. I wanted her to show me who she really was when the mask slipped. When she thought she was still in control. And she did. Almost too easily. It happened 4 nights after I overheard her and Trevor in the conference room. She came home late. Not unusual at that point. She claimed she'd been stuck in traffic. Said her phone died. Said she had to stay late helping with a proposal. Her stories were getting sloppier. Out of order. She didn't even flinch when she gave them anymore. Just floated them out like disposable wrappers. Never bothering to check if I'd caught the holes in them. She walked in, dropped her bag by the couch, and turned on the TV without even looking at me. Long day, I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She shrugged, grabbing the remote. You could say that. You didn't answer my texts. She didn't look up. Phone died. I waited. Nothing more came. That's when I decided to try something. Not a trap. Just pressure. I stopped by your office today, I said. That got her attention. Slowly, she turned her head toward me, one eyebrow arched. Why? Had some errands in the area. Thought I'd bring you lunch. But the receptionist said you were out all afternoon. There was a pause. Not long, but long enough. Then she smiled, a small, rehearsed one. Oh, right. I went to meet a client. What client? Another beat. She waved a hand dismissively. New guy. Doesn't matter. And just like that, she moved on. Turned back to the TV and acted like that sealed the conversation. It was in that moment I realized something. She wasn't just cheating. She was strategizing. She didn't care whether her stories made sense. She just needed them to exist. Plausible enough to throw me off. Or at least to exhaust me. She was building a buffer of noise, half-truths, and emotional static. And every time I tried to lean in, to clarify, to confront, she'd twist it, deflect, minimize. Later that night, I finally pushed harder. We were in the kitchen. She was pouring herself a glass of wine, her third. I stood at the counter, arms crossed, watching her. You and Trevor seem close, I said. She didn't turn around. He's a coworker. You ever hang out outside of work? She paused just for a second. Then, without missing a beat, said, You really asking me that? I didn't answer. She turned around, glass in hand, and gave me that look. The one she always used when she was pretending to be calm but was ready to fight. The one that said, How dare you put me on the stand? You've been weird lately, she said, leaning against the fridge. I blinked. I've been weird. Yeah, you're acting paranoid. Quiet. Judgy. I wonder why, I said, my voice flat. She laughed, cold and short. Let me guess. You think something's going on. I stayed silent. That's when she stepped forward and said something I'll never forget. If you start making a scene, she said, setting the wine glass down carefully, I'll tell everyone you held me back for years. I stared at her. She didn't flinch, just looked me dead in the eye. That you were emotionally distant, she continued. That you made me feel trapped. That I had no choice. I opened my mouth to say something, but she kept going. Because that's how it'll look from the outside. You're the one getting jealous. You're the one who can't handle his wife having a career. You're the one who keeps asking questions. I stepped back slightly, not out of fear, out of disbelief. You're threatening me? I said. She picked up her glass again. I'm just letting you know how this works. How what works? I asked. This, she said, gesturing between us. This game you think you're playing. You think you're collecting evidence, lining things up, cornering me. But you're not the only one with a story. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I married. The woman I thought I knew. And all I saw was calculation. No guilt. No shame. Just a measured awareness of what leverage she thought she had. You'd really lie like that? I asked. She sipped her wine. Would I need to if you weren't trying to blow this up? I'm not trying to blow anything up. Yes, you are, she said. You're sniffing around. Snooping. Lurking in shadows. You want a villain, Marcus. And if you push me far enough, I'll give you one. I stared at her in silence. And that's when I understood. She wasn't in denial. She wasn't scared of being caught. She had already prepared for it. She was building an exit strategy, and I was supposed to be the reason she used it. Not the affair. Not the lies. Me. My reaction. She wanted a breakdown. A confrontation. A scene. Because then she could paint herself as the survivor. I walked past her without saying a word. Grabbed my coat. Headed for the door. Where are you going? She called after me. To get air. Don't forget your phone, she added with a smirk. I didn't take it. I drove around for an hour. No music. No destination. Just me, the road, and the growing realization that this wasn't about infidelity anymore. This was about control. She didn't just cheat on me. She rewrote the story around it and tried to make me the unreliable narrator. The next day, her tone shifted completely, like nothing had happened. She made pancakes, commented on a neighbor's new car, asked me about work. I played along, smiled, nodded, said little, because now I wasn't reacting. I was documenting. She thought she had the upper hand. But if this was war, I wasn't going in unarmed. If you had asked me weeks before the party whether Jessica would ever try to twist reality, not just bend the truth, but reconstruct it, I would have said no. She was sharp, yes. SK** lead talker. She could walk out of an argument looking clean even if she'd thrown the first punch. But I still believed there were limits. That some part of her, underneath it all, wouldn't sink that low. That belief died the day the party photos hit social media. It started innocently enough. A friend from her department posted a group *T. 8 people lined up in front of the step and repeat banner from the event. Sparkly 2026 balloons in the background. Everyone smiling, drinks in hand. Jessica was front and center. Red dress. Flawless makeup. Her hand was resting lightly on Trevor's chest. I was in the far back. Barely visible, half turned away, caught mid-blink, the one person not looking at the camera. I looked distracted, distant, cold. That image became the seed. Over the next few days, more pictures surfaced. More posts. More tags. A series of carefully cropped *TS that captured her laughing with coworkers, especially Trevor, while I always seemed to be on the edge of the frame or not in it at all. Some were candids. Others were posed. All told the same story. Jessica glowing, Jessica free, Jessica surrounded by people who adored her. And the captions? Cheers to letting go of the past and stepping into something better. New year, new strength. So proud of this one. She deserves every bit of joy coming her way. I stared at the screen, scrolling through the comments like I was reading someone else's obituary. You look so happy. Finally, you're becoming you again. This energy is everything. No one tagged me. No one mentioned me. In fact, it felt like the collective agreement was, he doesn't exist in this version. I could have dismissed it. Could have told myself it was just social media, a curated highlight reel like everyone else's. But then I noticed something worse. Her mutual friends started pulling away. Calls got shorter. Texts got colder. One guy I'd known for years, someone who'd been at our wedding, unfollowed me completely. Another friend of ours, Dana, ran into me at a cafe and gave me that look. The tight-lipped, half-smile pity face. The one people wear when they know something about you that they think you don't know yet. I tried to brush it off. But that night, I checked Jessica's Instagram stories. Something I hadn't done in weeks. And there it was. A photo of her curled up on the couch with a mug, one of those aesthetic self-care posts. The caption read, "Healing takes time, but you have to want it. No more living in fear. Hashtag freedom, hashtag self-love, hashtag moving forward." I recognized the mug. It used to be mine. I clicked through the next slide. It was a quote post. One of those black text on beige background graphics people use when they want to sound profound without saying anything directly. Toxic love confuses control for concern. I blinked, and that's when I knew. She wasn't just rewriting the story. She was releasing it, quietly, passively, in fragments. Just enough to shape the narrative without ever naming me. Just enough to let people infer things. Fill in the blanks. And they did. Because people love a survivor. People love a redemption arc. And Jessica was giving them one. She was laying the groundwork, not for truth but for permission. Permission to feel good about what she did. Permission for others to support her without asking questions. I started seeing it everywhere. Subtle digs. Slipped into conversations with friends. One even texted me, "Hey man, not trying to get involved, but maybe give her space? She says you've been kind of intense." Kind of intense? I hadn't even spoken to her that week. I realized I was up against something bigger than just an affair. Bigger than lies. This was narrative warfare. And she was winning. So I did what I had to. I started collecting things. Not for revenge. For protection. **TS. Of her captions, her comments, her passive-aggressive posts. Of her texts to me, the ones that contradicted what she was publicly claiming. I went back and downloaded the messages where she called me cold, possessive, suffocating. Conveniently dated just days after I found the second phone. I recorded a few of our conversations. In our state, as long as one party consents to a recording, it's legal. I kept my phone on during arguments. During her late-night wine-soaked monologues. During the morning after she called me emotionally manipulative for asking why she was disappearing for hours at a time. I printed records, **TS of her travel confirmations, her Uber receipts, her calendar entries that didn't match what she told me. I took photos of the second phone when I found it again, buried at the bottom of her gym bag, battery dead but still showing Trevor's number in recent calls. I documented timestamps, when she left, when she got back, what she was wearing. I wasn't building a case for court. I was building one for reality. Because if she ever decided to go public, if she ever posted a teary selfie talking about how I'd controlled her or isolated her, I needed to be ready. Not to destroy her, to defend myself. Because when someone starts spinning lies with just enough truth inside to feel real, it spreads like oil in water. You can't clean it up after. You can only stop it before it catches fire. So I lived on edge. Every moment became a calculation. Every interaction a chess move. Every "how was your day?" became a line I could hear being twisted later. And she knew. She knew what she was doing. One night, she walked into the kitchen, saw my phone on the counter, and smirked. "You recording again?" I didn't answer. She laughed. "You know that just makes you look more paranoid, right?" I looked at her calmly. "I'm just trying to remember things clearly." She stepped closer, lowered her voice. "You think you can outplay me in this, Marcus? That you're going to win the sympathy vote?" I stared back. "This isn't about sympathy." "Then what's it about?" "Clarity," I said. She rolled her eyes and walked out of the room. The next morning, she posted a new story. "Some people only love the version of you they can control. Let them go. You're allowed to grow past them." I **Ted that too. Every piece mattered. I wasn't just holding on to evidence. I was holding on to the truth before she buried it. What saved me was Scott. He used to be Jessica's boss's assistant, quiet guy, always observing. Out of nowhere, he messaged me. "I think you deserve to know the truth." He had overheard Jessica and Trevor talking in the break room, and he'd recorded it. In the audio, they joked about keeping their stories straight, deleting messages, and making sure Marcus doesn't catch on too fast. Hearing her voice, So casual, so smug, shattered any remaining doubt. I took the recording straight to my lawyer. HR got involved. Jessica was put on leave pending an internal investigation. A week later, she resigned to pursue new opportunities. Her world cracked open, and I was still standing. After she left, the house changed. It wasn't empty, it was still, peaceful. I could hear myself think again. I could breathe without waiting for the next argument, the next lie. We finalized everything quietly. Lawyers, signatures, goodbye. No more accusations. No more games. Just silence. I didn't want this ending, not like this. But I've come to realize it wasn't an ending at all. It was an opening. And for the first time in a long time, the life I'm walking into finally feels like mine.